Nobody say it.
Recording in progress.
Fuck's sake!
It's a thing we have to do. You know this.
This is true. This is very true. Hello and welcome to Behind the Duvet. I have loads of new people who have never done one of these before, so bear with. This is my presenter voice. Hi. So this time, I don't know why I'm introducing it like I do TT conversations, because I've been doing those all week. So this is the Behind the Duvet for the R101. If you've not listened to the R101 audio, please do that before you listen to this, because spoilers. Even though it's a history thing,
and it would make more sense.
Spoiled and it would make more sense.
Years.
Yes, it would make.
It makes more sense. You know, you would understand what we're going to talk about.
I haven't listened to my history book yet, but
so if I go round and say your names and then say who you acted, if you can remember. Right. So Jimmy.
Jimmy Wolf, and I play Smith, aka Corporal Jones.
Don't
know why.
Don't panic. Dom.
I'm Dom, and I play Jones.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
same Jones.
Yeah,
all double
Jones.
Rightfully well. So
many
far.
Jones.
Strax.
I am Strax or Matt. I play the chef. I've forgotten his name.
White.
That was it. Oh, Chef's White, of course. Yes.
Mr. Wall.
I'm James, one of the newbies, and I played Cass.
Christopher.
Wow, that formal.
Yeah. Well, that's how you joined the Zoom.
Yeah.
When you joined the Zoom, I was like, who the hell is Christopher? And everybody was like, oh, you're an idiot.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
Chris.
I didn't realise it populated that. Yeah, Chris Walker Thompson here, and I play Hill.
David.
Hi, I'm David Bingham. I play Path, the new radio. I almost said
yes, another person that cannot say the title of the show properly. Parfait, darling. Parfait.
That guy on the radio.
Fetus.
I am the fetus. That's it. I am just the fetus. I'm otherwise known as Josh Griggs, and I played Lee.
Yeah. Was it Lee? Said questioningly.
My client would like to change his story.
Razalon.
Oh, hello. My name is Rory, aka Rassalon Productions, and I play James.
And Chelsea.
Hi, I am Chelsea B. Lagan, and I played Joan for one line. I was a child, and I also helped direct R101. It was great craft.
I love that. Helped direct. She did direct.
Yeah, you
I did direct.
So modest.
I did direct. Okay.
And I'm Abby Louise, and I wrote and edited it. Yay.
Also, excellently so.
You know, I can never say that. Edited it.
Edited it.
It's the hardest thing I've ever heard.
Edited it.
Everything I've tried to say in my life. Edited it.
So, I'm trying to think, because most of you, this was one of the audios where a lot of you didn't audition. Most of you I just kind of approached and was like, hey, there's this role. Would you like it? So I'm trying to think who was recruited first, and it was probably Fetus.
Oh, God.
Tag, you're it.
Shit. So first off, had you heard of like the R101, Josh?
Yes.
Other than Storm Warning?
Well, yes, as well. Because yes and yes.
Yes and yes.
So I heard. So obviously, I knew the first thing I had ever heard of about the R101 was in the Eighth Doctor story Storm Warning, which was my first Big Finish audio to listen to, and then I never thought it was a real thing. I just thought it was a setting for the episode, and then all of a sudden I can't remember exactly what the reason was, but they popped on a video in like a chemistry lesson one time, and it was on the R101, and I literally just went, oh shit, it's real.
That is an airship. No, the reason why I cast you first, because spoiler, every single character, originally you all had the actual names of the actual people. So, but we changed them because that was the nice thing to do. So every single one of you was an actual person. But as soon as I saw a picture of this galley boy, and I was like, Peters, you have been summoned. And then it was like Lord Thompson's valet, who was a like 17-year-old, and I was like, Rory, get the lads in. Like, the only problem, and we mentioned this in Josh's TT conversation, you two sound very similar.
I only noticed this when we did the premiere for Tusks.
Yeah, you sound really similar, and I was like, who am I listening to right now?
It's not too bad in this because obviously you're doing your James Bond impression.
Yes, James Bond.
The name's Bond.
We found him. We found him first. BBC. Ha
ha.
I've never noticed we sound similar. That's new.
Yeah. Especially when you're both doing Cockney accents.
I never noticed it until Abby pointed it out.
Yeah, I'll have to take a re-listen of that. Yeah.
Sorry, who's speaking now?
Yeah, which one of
me?
Which one of you is it?
Split by birth.
Hello, my name is Fetus. Yes, it is I. Fetus.
Hi, my name is Rassalon Productions, also known as Roy.
So, Chris, how does it feel doing? Because obviously you've got a lot of experience doing these audio type thingy-majiggies. Chris and Dom, I'm going to speak to you both at the same time. How did it feel doing a pure historical? Chris, you go first.
I don't think it felt good.
And now Dom's turn.
I mean, like Joshua said there, or Fetus said, there's I had no idea that AR101 was a real thing as such when I first heard Storm Warning. But no, just it felt nice to play a different sort of role that was based on a real person for a change. Most of the things I do are more character based. Well, I don't know. I do impressions and things, but this was kind of different because it was.
I'm trying to think.
playing,
Within TT, you've played the dodgy priest.
Yes.
The gossipy priest and Chelsea's Dar.
That was a fun night.
I'm sure it was.
But yeah, but, you know, but this was felt. It was based on a real person who was involved in a real, tragedy in history, and there was a much different. I've always done impressions and things like that, and it's never, it's either been for comedy effect or if I do it serious, it's never really been quite like that. So that did weigh on me a little bit, but not too much. I enjoyed playing, I suppose, a realistic part.
Yeah. Dominic.
Hello.
Also, welcome to TT, Dom, because this is your first TT audio.
Yes, it is. Great.
What
It's
an
a pleasure.
impact. What an impact.
What a start.
What a first start to come. First one to come into.
Come and join and die in James York's arms. What worse way?
Join the graveyard.
It's not a bad way to go, honestly. But I think it was more. I don't know who died first. It was kind of like he was dying in my arms. Who knows? Friends died together.
We just died together. It's all good.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed that being a part of this because there was, again, like most of the others, I had a very, very limited knowledge about the R101. So this was not only a good acting experience, but it was also a good history lesson as well, because it was great to actually just learn about these people. Like I believe my character is based on someone called George William Hunt, if I'm not wrong.
Hunt,
Hunt, and so I read up a bit as much as there was about him, which isn't a lot, really. The same could be said about a lot of them, really.
I'll say this: the conversation that you had with our other newbie, Matt Lyons, who is our token child actor at the moment. He's fantastic. That boy is so talented. I really want to work with him again. He was fantastic. But there's an interview about that the BBC done a program about the airship, and it was him So it was Albert, but he's like 70, 80 by this point. And he was saying about the fact that he walked his dad to the airship and he held his kit bag and he said, "Oh, can you promise me 2 things? Join the Navy and look after your mother and sister." And as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, I'm writing this down. So that was an actual, like, that's an actual word for words, like, yeah.
It's just great in that way. It's a very human event, really. It's just very realistic, and knowing that it actually happened kind of feeds things back into the realism of the actual of the whole audio play.
I wanted to show, because obviously with Sirius Joe's character in Grace, I wanted to show that they had lives. They weren't just airmen. Like they had lives outside of this, and especially the fact that the 2 people who we did see their families, they died. So like, yeah, it's a little bit more impactful. And our next newbie is James Wall. Hello.
Oh, you've really put me on the spot now. You think this is on Zoom? Because I am sweating right now. That sounded so wrong, sorry.
Not the first time I've heard that.
Somebody take over and ask him a question for a moment, because Child is here.
How did you find your first role here, I suppose, in this production?
Well, definitely nervous, because compared to me, half of you lot are already legends from my point of view. So yeah, I definitely
probably you and Dom.
I mean, I'll take it where I can.
I mean, apart from Dom's hair, I don't think any of us are quite in that sort of legendary state.
I mean, Dom's hair is like a mix.
Shush! Cease! Shut up! No.
I haven't started an argument now, have I? Oh,
no.
First impression.
We're just we're just very vain and humble idiots.
I've got a question, like, because of course this was your first role, TT. What was it like, this audio drama being your first? Because of course, well, it may be your first role. This was a heavy script to be your first.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty surprising, but honestly, I was just glad to be a part of it, really, because I've been trying to get involved in stuff like this for a while now, and
you got 2 in one weekend.
Yeah,
because he's in Molly 2.
Ah, brilliant.
He's playing Billy in Molly 2. He's not very nice in that.
The villains, I find the villains always better.
Always.
They're
always better. They're always going to be the best parts. But yeah, this part, you know, as everybody else has said, because it's based on real events that even I'd never heard of. But this is another reason why I want to do stuff like this, because I find out about, you know,
you'll tend to find, Mr. Wall, and that's what I'm going to call you because there's too many Jameses, that even in Molly, I have a habit of just slipping in historical events into like audios when you don't think they're going to happen. There's historical things.
Historian who tells you things without you realizing you're learning stuff.
I'm like,
somebody with ADHD is brilliant.
I feel like horrible histories. Like, it's just going to start singing about air pilots and you won't even realize you're learning. We love it.
So that's what I think, that this, like, doing this audio, like, all together, and like the people that's listening to it, I think that a lot of us tend to forget that these are actual events because they happened such a long time ago. Like, even today when we were listening to it, because we have like the wee cast premiere that we do, we cheeky ones, that whenever you listen to it, like, I don't know about you, but the tears were tripping from me as always. Like, that's not new to anybody who listens to
Chelsea crying. No,
but yeah, but like, that's the thing, we kind of always forget that these events have actually happened, and then once you like listen to things like this, it becomes more real and more like, you know, like, wow, this actually happens. You know, again, it's historical, it's, you know, like a part of British history. Like, I learned a lot from it.
This is Abby's gonna say it. This is the thing. This is the thing. A lot of the stuff that I try to teach is British history, but a lot of the reasons why it's been forgotten is because the Brits are to blame. If we've messed up, you will not learn the history of that thing we messed up on. It will just slowly disappear into the abyss, and then I come along and go, so the R101.
Remember when we did
So
this
basically,
and
what
that?
happened is the British people just went, no.
Yeah, that's basically what happened, because it's the same with the match
Oh,
girl
remember
stuff.
Waterloo? Yes, but you've failed a lot since then. You know,
Yes.
Makes us
Just
less.
keep
Still go
bringing
on
it
about
up.
Waterloo. We'll
What's
It
keep
makes
going
us
about
look
that.
less glorious. We don't want to know.
that's
I'm
the
Yes,
thing,
that's
is-
great.
I'm
you could say.
Irish and I'm not saying nothing.
No, but it's
Abertaurus, we
true.
needed to know.
No, yeah.
Mm.
No, it is true. If the Brits have messed up somewhere and it's an era of history, we will not talk about it
Yeah.
because
you're
we're
not wrong.
ashamed, and we're supposed to be like Britain and like all these big like
Great
hoo-has.
Britain.
Yeah,
That is
it's
the
great.
British
Glorious
ideal,
Britannia.
though.
Which we
British
know is a
ideal
big pile of
it's just-
poo,
yeah.
but like
I mean,
that is purely us being toffs and trying to set off this illusion that we are brilliant.
It's
But we're
like how they
not. We do
glamorised
make
the World
mistakes.
War.
No,
It's like
that's
how
the
the
thing.
World War's glamorized. It's
That's
sort of
exactly
like,
what it
oh,
is.
yeah,
It's not,
um,
well, it's not really glamour, is it? It was a horrible period of history.
Yeah.
And
it's
but
horrific.
because we won the war, we're like, oh well, we must keep harking back to that. So well, we
History
beat them, didn't we?
is
We
written
jolly
by
well
the
beat them.
victors.
That's
But
how
really-
we work.
but
That is
really,
how we
actually,
work.
I mean,
You
it's
don't
just
hear
glorified.
about the stuff like if Wiedersehen Pet goes on about, like the bank, the amount of money that we were buggered as a country after the war, but that's not mentioned.
Oh no.
No, we have
Isn't
to be British and proud of
Yeah,
the fact that we won
exactly.
a
And
war.
this is
We
the
won
thing with
something.
the
We killed
stuff.
thousands of people.
I'll say
But we
this:
still won.
the amount of it's not just Chambers that. So when I started writing it, I got sent this lovely little book by a member of the R101 committee thing. And I went through and I highlighted all the key events like the wind speed and the ballasts and stuff that I don't understand. I ain't got a clue. I'll say this now, when it comes to airships, I don't know. Warships, I know those. Airships, not a bloody clue. So all the like wind at 35 knots and all that stuff, and I've purely got that from books. But then there's stuff, there's other key events like Dom's character running out and saying, "We're down, lads, we're down." That actually happened. The fact that Smith, so Jimmy's character, wasn't relieved in car 5 was the reason why he survived. Because if he was in his bed, he would have died. So it's little things like that. So I had, I tried to slip them in, but like, and Chambers, who's based on the man called Disley. He burnt his hands to a crisp, and he actually got a medal purely because he ran to the nearest house, rang up the air marshal, and told them that the ship had crashed. And he got a medal. He got a medal for that.
Do you
that's the
have
thing
a
with you.
telephone?
Telephone.
Telephone.
No, but that's the thing with you, Abby, that
Telephone.
I 100% admire about you. Like it is. Now I'm not just trying to, blow smoke up your arse, but that is. And there's one thing that I really admire about you is that you put so much effort, dedication into looking at the history of these real events. Like a lot of people could just, just maybe have like watch a documentary, watch like a wee skim of it. Like a wee skim of something, just getting the bare facts, but you go into such a deep detail that is absolutely admirable because you get all these little key things that actually happen. You're thinking, wow, like you wouldn't have even realized that this, it was like one thing after another that led to this big event. So like the research and the dedication that you do to that is completely admirable, and you should literally just give yourself a pat in the back because honestly, it's so much effort. Amazing. Wow.
Even just a
Can I
little
put it
thing,
by
like,
myself?
that, you said, the previously mentioned quote, like Dom's character, the quote from that is the fact that you've actually got even just the smallest things like that in it. It's not, it's not necessarily a huge fact about the thing, but it happened. So to actually have that in there, even just such a small thing, makes a huge difference.
I mean, obviously you have to have dramatic license. You have to.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you just have people basically watching an engine for 4 hours because I've been there. I've sat and watched an engine for 4 hours.
Like watching a documentary, isn't it? Yeah.
Literally. And like most people, when the ship crashed, that was it. They were gone. they didn't, like, there wasn't all these people trapped in compartments. The only story of somebody trapped in a compartment is Leech, which is Chris's character, smashing through the bulkheads. Nothing else has, everything else, like the boys going and Dom's character going, none of that happened. But I couldn't have just gone, oh yeah, that's it, they're done, because it wouldn't have had the emotional impact.
But then again,
to do
that just shows like the creativity that you had and literally how driven you were to writing this.
Well, the thing is, you don't know as well, because I mean, some things like that possibly could have happened, but obviously
they're dead.
Yeah.
We
I
can't
think
ask
not here with us
Yeah.
anymore. There's no nobody that would have gone, well, actually, they didn't say that because I, you know, it's kind of.
I will say this, and I scrapped the line at the end, but the lad they pull out at the end, who was played by George, whose
noticed that
name
line
was
was missing.
Jackson. Yeah, I pulled it because I thought
That's fair.
it lost the impact. His name was Jackson, but his actual name was Church, and he got out, and technically he survived. And he got to the hospital, and his family were informed, and his family came over, and he died like hours before his family got there. Yeah, I'm still, to be truthful, like, out of all the men, it's Cook, which is Jim's character, that was literally set on fire, which is the one that I was worried about the most, because, like, you picture someone set on fire and it's comical. As bad as that sounds,
I get you.
Yeah, you know.
I get what you're saying.
So
Yeah.
I
but the
wanted
weird
it to
thing
come
is-
across not like a joke. I think
But
the only thing that alleviated that was the fact they hid behind a cow. And
Hmm.
Wall, like, your delivery of that line was exactly how I pictured it. Like, it was brilliant. Like, he's hiding behind a cow.
But the thing
Which
is, it's
he
like,
did. He did hide behind a cow. That
for
happened.
that, I went out and I found a video on YouTube of actually. It was an interview with Cook.
Yeah.
Because when I was reading through the script, when I read the bit about being on fire, I thought I'm gonna be doing it. You know, oh my God, help! Put me out! Put me out! But when you actually look at the interview with him, he's really, like, there's a bit when I think there's a picture of him or a video of him coming out of a plane or something like that. It was obviously after the event. It's an old video, but he's just wrapped head to toe in bandages, obviously for obvious reasons.
He looks like the Invisible Man. Like,
Yeah,
honestly.
but then the interview with him, he's talking, and he literally just says, you know, as there as an older gun, he just says, I just remember looking down and my arms were on fire, and he's completely calm and collected. And it's kind of like, well, okay, obviously he's had the time to deal with it since then, but the whole thing of him going and hiding behind the cow and things like that, it's kind of like, you get the impression that at the time it happened, he was that calm because he was in shock. It's kind of like, it was, you know,
The
it's a case of
adrenaline.
looking down and going, oh, I'm on fire.
Yeah.
So running, oh, I'm going to go and run away from all of this. I better go find somewhere to hide. There's a cow, I'll go hide behind, you know, and it's weird to watch.
That's good to do that, because like with you did that research for that character that you were playing, and obviously, like, I was thinking literally that you're going to be screaming your lungs out, you know what I mean? But then once you mentioned that interview to me, I had to go and watch it myself, and I was like, I can see where this man is coming
It's
from.
weird, isn't it? Because you look at him and you genuinely think he'd be more emotional remembering it and talking about it, but it's almost like he's relaying something that he's been told. It doesn't seem like it happened to him, but it did. It's very, very strange. But it was great to watch, because you sort of got an impression of the, you know, of how it affected people both.
All of them got interviewed.
Yeah. Because I watched quite a few of the other ones, and they're all, it just seems, again, it's one of those things that if you don't know about it, the R101s, which I have to confess, I didn't know a huge amount by it. I probably read more about it now because of doing this. And slight confession I have to make, just a slightly comedic tangent. I will admit this now, I've been saying this. I have never listened to Storm Warning.
Fair. Chelsea thought it was a plane.
Yeah, no, I've never listened to it. Genuinely, my first memory I have of the R101, of learning of the R101, is it's an old Monty Python sketch, and it's Napoleon, but it's Terry Jones playing Napoleon Bonaparte, flying across a screen holding a couple of propellers as the R101. And that was the first introduction I had to the R101, and it was only after that again that it came up in history, things like that. And but again, when I was looking for the interviews and I was just trying to find out a bit more, as Dom said earlier, you don't realize how little there is about it until you go and look it up. And it's one of those things that you might be aware it's happening, you know of it, but
wait until we start doing the match girls, because there's fuck all.
but this is the thing, there's a degree of, you look at it and think like, well, is it because, again, as Chris said earlier, is it because it was buried by history because it was a terrible event, or is it just that people just didn't talk about it and it's not widely known? So it's nice to do this audio in a sense, because I get the feeling that
if you watch some of the videos on YouTube, when you type in R101, you can see the line of people going into Westminster Hall to basically where the Queen was. They were laying where the Queen was in 1930, and people queued for days, literally. So it's probably just like, that's how big a deal it was. And as well, they were the first non-royals to be laid in state in Westminster Hall.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy. And they say you can see, because they dug a massive ditch and put all the coffins into this one massive ditch, and you can see pictures of it, and it's crazy. You got to think there was like 48 coffins, just crazy. But yeah. I promise I can write more cheerful things, but not this.
We'll see.
I like
we'll
it. I like the dark things like this, because it should be. As we were saying earlier, it should be something that doesn't have very many happy moments. It should be something that gives the right impression of how dark it was, because it was. It was a terrible event. You can't make something like that happy. It doesn't work.
Well, that's another thing about it, though. It was like, at the start you had all these like nice little moments, and it was happy in bits and places, and you got this little,
but there's still bits like the Axminster carpet. That was true. The fact that he basically, he said none of the crew could bring anything on board other than a shirt, a toothbrush, and a change of pants, because he wanted to bring on board all this champagne.
Yeah,
and only 2 bags of spuds.
But
I know.
But I wanted, because originally, because a lot of these sort of things would be focusing on Lord Thompson.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do like the polar opposite of Star Trek and actually focus on the crew. Now, I don't know whether that's because I used to be crew.
No, you don't. I think you've definitely nailed it, because I mean, as we were listening to it just then, a while ago this evening, we all got suckered in, and in fact, the chat just stopped.
Yeah. That's one thing I
we had a chat thing going, and we were like making little remarks of, because we remember recording it, and
the minute shit hit the fans,
then when the shit hit the fan, everyone just went silent. But what I liked about the script is that, and especially with everyone's performance, is that we all sounded like it felt so natural. Anyone listening would definitely believe and to just enjoy these characters. They're not even characters,
it makes a
people.
huge difference doing it like that. I have to say.
It felt like you were listening to real people doing what essentially could be a mundane job, but it was but it was slightly entertaining.
I'll say this though, I don't feel like we could have made this if I'd just gone, here's the script, send it in.
Yeah,
the
stories
you need the back and forth reactions.
But that's one thing as well. Like, because there's such a big cast, we had to have 2 separate recording days where we were all acting together on the same on Zencaster.
Oh my god, they were so different recording days though. I said this in Josh's thing. So we had the actors on the first day. We had the Florent. They were like, "Who? I'm an actor." And then on the second one, it was all the lads.
It was just lads.
One thing I will have to point out, even though we did do them 2 separate days of recording, everything flowed so naturally. We were all there together, recording all together. And that's one thing I have to give a shout out to everybody, because I don't think we could have done it again. We couldn't have done it if we were just sending our lines in. and we
Yeah.
definitely couldn't have done it with any other
No,
cast.
I don't
Because
think.
Oh,
we-
yeah.
like this
Yeah.
cast just literally took
Oh, it's
everything on
such a
board
dream
and just
cast.
I agree.
Literally,
honestly
this.
amazing.
The scene that me and Josh and was it Raz? I can't
Raz,
remember
Yeah,
who
it was
it.
Raz.
Us three. Our
Yeah.
scene we recorded practically straight after
Yeah.
Jim did his on fire dying bit. So
Mm.
we were trying to like. I don't think we actually did a rehearsal on that bit. I think we
No.
No, we literally
No, we
went
just
straight
went
to recording.
straight
We
into
went
it,
straight
yeah.
to
If I did a
recording, and my
rehearsal, I would
initial
have
reaction
lost.
was, "Oh,
Yeah. It was
Kept that
truly.
energy up.
But we've
for
discovered
us three.
We've discovered this. If it's like an action scene
Clumsy.
or
Mm.
like or a death scene or something that's like a traumatic scene,
it's better to do it first."
it's better
Oh,
to
yeah,
just
yeah,
go in and do it
You
because
can't replicate those emotions.
can't do it
Oh
twice.
yeah,
No.
100%.
Yeah.
Well,
you
it's the
can,
second
but you
time
can't
I've
do it
died
the
in one of
same
your
way
productions,
twice.
Abby. Yeah.
Second time.
Yeah, second time.
Well,
That was.
third, Tusks.
Oh yeah. Was I? Did I die in Dust?
No.
No,
Yes,
you're
yes.
still
No, no, that's the
Second
second
time you
time. Second time I've died is in this one.
Well, yeah.
And I like the first time I died, very lightheaded. The second time broke me. That was truly
Mm.
just.
It's.
I mean, even listening to it again,
yeah,
I don't know how to describe it. It was
that was when I started crying as well.
yeah. I mean, that was just heartbreaking. I've never been that heartbroken over like.
This sounds really weird. It sounds really weird, and it's not cruel, but
Mm.
like the Dom and Jim bit, I'm like, oh no. But it's when Fetus says, "I want my mum."
Yeah.
That was a
No,
bit.
that broke me.
But I think
It
there was
broke me.
there was a certain line. I think it was is it him or something like that? Where they couldn't recognize the body.
Yeah.
They couldn't recognize who they
oh,
were looking
yeah.
at. That bit made it feel like so as real as it should do. It was like
Raw. It was very raw.
exactly.
Mm.
Yeah. Overall, that was beautifully written. Like it was really respectful, really hard hitting, just and directed as well. Amazingly directed. Like genuinely, I don't think I could have done that without direction from
Chelsea.
Chelsea.
Yes.
Yes.
And
yeah.
especially, I mean,
shit. I'll cost yourself.
the cast as well. It's just it was all like really well done, really put together, really respectfully. I feel like that was the main thing. And you're right about historical context and the way we look at history. I remember doing history GCSEs and it was so biased.
Yeah.
I mean, all of history is
Yeah.
biased. That's the thing you learn
Yeah.
in history, is that it's all biased. Every single country has their own bias, and some other countries will look at us and look at Great Britain as not so great. I feel like it is you know,
You're
I
right,
think-
Chelsea.
and you know, even
I'm
like
just looking at something.
even like using Doctor Who as an example, because of course we've talked about Storm Warning, which was my first time hearing about this as well. But even using recent Doctor Who as an example, like Winston Churchill and glorifying historical
Oh, yeah.
celebrities.
I
Nikola
hated
Tesla was horror, or he had horrible views in real life, absolutely horrific views. I feel like it's like, and a lot of Doctor Who recently, well, not even recent
Ignores
anymore,
that
ignore.
side.
I mean, even Queen Victoria. I mean, a lot of Doctor Who can often glorify our own history. It was only when like Chibnall came along that we suddenly started looking at it from a less biased perspective. And I think that is, you know, if we're talking about historicals, I think that's our duty as storytellers to tell it from multiple perspectives. We can't just
So,
focus on the biased side of it.
Chelsea. First directing.
Hello.
First directing. In at the deep end, darling.
No, whenever I got told about this, I was like, Abby, I don't know if I can do this. Like I've only just got past the point of like trying to edit sounds and everything. And then
She's an
Abby was
editor
just
as well
like-
now. She's an audio
Yes, I
editor
do
now.
sound editing. But I like whenever I got told about this, obviously, whenever Abby gives you an opportunity, I'd be like, yes, I'll do it. Then I got the script and I was like, oh. And then I got the actual people that were in the cast, and I was like, oh.
And you heard us, and you were probably like, no.
I remember,
No,
no,
she
I
heard
remember, I remember
and
her.
then she went, "Oh, this will be easy."
No, this is the thing. I remember her being
Grand.
like, I have to tell Chris Walker Thompson and Dominic G. Martin what to do. What?
I was like, I can't do it. I'm like,
I've
you're
never.
great, sweet.
That's never a thing. I've never understood why any actor feels above the director they have, because
Well,
I find
precisely.
it's always the
No,
mutual
it's just
arrangement.
because I know yous from like two different things, if you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
I know, like, obviously I knew like Chris from like Waterside and
Waterside.
everything. Whenever Overton Audios and
yes.
Red Matter Productions, you know, I knew.
We
from
have
then.
to by
And then
law
I knew
mention
Dom
Overtons and everything at some
as-
point.
and I was like,
Yeah.
I can't direct these.
Yeah, but we're mates, aren't we? So it's, you know.
Yeah,
It's
it's-
cool.
but I always found, yeah, I find that any actor who turns up and feels that they don't need to be have any involvement with the director at all, and I don't find that very well. I mean, I've done a couple of things where directors just either. I think it was more. I realised afterwards, the director didn't actually. They trusted us to do a good job, so we did it anyway.
This
But
is
the way
another
it came
thing.
across was as though we just got chosen to do it, and they just, there was no real direction, which I found harder.
But this
No,
is
like for
another-
me
this
now,
is-
So,
if
I
I
don't-
knew
I'm not a
you were being
blank- I'm not
shite,
like a
I'd be like,
puppet.
your lads are a bit shite.
I'm
Yeah.
not saying that we need to be puppeted or micromanaged, but it's
No,
kind
no,
of
I
like,
totally
yeah.
get what you mean.
But
Totally.
this is
find it
another
very-
thing that makes TT a little bit different to all the other audio channels because you're directed there on the spot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which
rather
is a good
than
thing, you know.
because
I love that.
a lot of these fan audio companies, I'll be like, oh, what do you sort of thing do you want? Oh, just read the script, and I'm like, it's just direct.
See, that's the thing. With live,
with
with live directing as well, it does give you, like, instead of sending out, let's say, like somebody sends out a bullet pointed list of stuff that you need to re-record or redo, or add a wee bit more. This is the thing, you're directed live, so that makes you that ensures that you have that focus on that thing. But that's one thing, like directing this lot was so much fun, and literally I'd love directing. I would do it all over again, because like with this amazing cast as well, it made it such a great like first time experience, but definitely something I would definitely want to go into again.
I've given you your list.
Yes, you have, and I have others. So directed by
I always
Blue
think
Kazoo once again.
I always think that the best thing is always the actor director relationship, always. And I find the best actors are those, like even Al Pacino still respects the director he's working with. He will take the
Well, I'm
feedback.
glad you respect me. It's good
you
to
know.
know.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, to be honest, we turn up and we may have our own idea of what we want to do, but it has to meet what the director wants as well. You have to find a compromise between. It shouldn't be a case of, oh, we'll just let them be them, and just and that's how you get shit films and things.
As well, you have to meet what the director wants, but you also have to meet what the other actors are expecting as well. There's no point in the director can tell you what to do and they do it very well, but if you're not getting that rhythm with the other person you're doing it with, it's not going to work, is it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, full part. Yeah.
So, in summary, acting is reacting.
Acting is reacting. I need that on a t-shirt.
I need that. I need to change our slogan, because like TT Productions bring an adventure to audios. TT Productions, acting is reacting.
Here's the thing.
I always tell myself, I've always told myself for years that and it keeps me quite on my grounded really, is I always say I'm not very good at what I do.
Oh, shite.
Oh, shut it, you. I will mute you. I will mute you.
I think it's also how I was raised anyway. I was like, never met full expectation. I've never
I get what you mean.
That's shit.
I'm not very good at this.
But that's the thing. You have everybody here.
It's a negative way to look at it. But I've known so many people who believe they're good at something and let it take off in their head, and it ruins them. In fact, I had a lot of respect for people, and I lost that respect for a lot of people, friends even as well, who they think they're God's gift to YouTube.
But
or something or anything like that.
Us lot acting together and like doing stuff as a company, and like being like, yes, I have worked with Dominic G. Martin because I done this scene with him. Like it's just little things like that. I feel like it's given us all kind of the oomph to believe in ourselves as actors again, because we're not acting to brick walls, we're acting with you lot.
This is definitely a very preferable way of doing audio acting, if I were to say,
God.
mainly because it's just like everyone's all around. We can actively bounce off each other instead of just, sending lines in hope for the best. It's just like, it's really, really, it's such a natural feel to it that it just.
I will say this though, it can be a pain in the bum to try and
Oh yeah.
Organizing, I can
Tell me
imagine
about
that'd be
it.
very
Oh,
hard.
I can
yeah,
imagine that. Yeah.
And slightly to edit as well, because especially if you've got like internet issues can make
no,
it
but it's
delay
so much
line.
delay.
no, but it's so much easier with Zen because we record on Zen. Everything was recorded on separate tracks, so all you do is pick the tracks up, put them in your editor, and you're done. And then you just put an effect on it because
Zencaster doesn't actually sync it up very well either. So you always have to cut the lines.
Yeah,
up,
not
I
a
always find.
lot, not by a
much,
lot
yeah.
though. I'll tell you this: it's much
giggles.
easier. It's much easier than people sending in puzzle pieces.
Oh God.
It's so much easier.
yeah.
So all you're doing is cutting like this much off of a track.
Because what Zencaster does well, I think, is usually the host really will benefit from it because it might delay for some of us, but for the host, if they hear it all together in one thing, it kind of syncs better. Zencaster is very good for that.
Delays.
I found that podcast.
Yes,
No,
delays.
Don't
no.
tell us
Amen.
about delays. We
Amen
don't talk
to you,
about
sir.
delays. What are you
Amen to
talking-
Chris. Amen to
Amen.
Chris.
Amen. Amen.
You're
Thing
never
I
gonna
would
live that
say,
one down.
Thing I'll say as well is, and James Wall can probably relate to this as well. It's like obviously I've done Tusks. Well, I've done an episode of Tusks. I've recorded some bits for Last of Us, and I'm doing other bits and pieces. But I've never done like come into this sort of acting thing before. I write myself scripts when I do my YouTube videos. But again, I'm writing the script and I have to read my own script. So doing this again, it feels kind of daunting at the start. But it's weird because I'm here, like I said, I'm here with people like I've watched over the years, like Chris and Dom, and I've listened to some TT stuff, and it's kind of like okay, new boy here, things like that. But it just feels natural and welcome. Like it just feels like you've always been part of the team, which I love because there's there's quite a few things where I've done things.
We call
over
ourselves
the
the TT family, and like I've said, like you will be invited to things that you've never even heard of because we've got a premiere on. Because for once, this doesn't normally happen. Like Mart was here for the premiere, and he's not even in this.
Yeah,
Like,
he's just here for the crack.
yeah, usually you'll get people in. It's like Kath was at the Tusks premiere, and she's not in it until episode 2. So you all just be randomly like Fetus is in the behind the duvet for Molly. He's not in it, but he was at the behind the duvet because he listened to it and cried his little heart out. But yeah, so
but
in summary, we are amazing. Anyway,
it was like when I was doing the lines with Chris, just with Smith and them reactors, part of it in my head, I was like, right, Chris Walker Thompson, proper acting guy. I need to sit here and just and then it just after a minute.
Where does this proper actor thing come in?
That's the point in my head.
I like smoking gags throughout the whole thing.
Seriously, because I need to behave myself. And then, but after a while, we're ad-libbing about me running after you, trying to give you your cigarettes. You'll go, not round the gas man. And it's just, but I loved it because it really makes you just, like I said, it just made the whole thing much more relaxed. And and I think the whole live recording thing, it makes it a lot better and a lot easier because you've got that rapport with everyone else. And like I said, I don't consider myself an actor in any sense of the form, but coming in doing this,
You are now.
That's what I think. I come in now and I think, well,
have you
I
listened to any of the stuff you're in?
That was me. That was me about how many years ago did I start? And I was like, I'd be saying, I'm not an actor.
Ago.
I'm not an actor because in my brain, I didn't go to drama college. I didn't do, I've not done.
I didn't.
Acting
I've not done anything
or anything.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I do.
Now
I
look
just
at
muck about.
you. You're all class.
I generally
All
think
I
the
got is
only
a
one.
BTEC Performing Arts. So.
Generally, I think the only one out of all of
at
us.
school.
Yeah, I think
That
the
was
only
about
one who
it.
actually has drama qualifications is Chelsea.
Yeah.
No one actually told me. I learned, I didn't even know what RP was until
I had to look that up.
Neither did I.
24.
I
I
had
was
to
24.
explain the word RP so many times when we were casting.
It was about when I started doing the Patrick Troughton stuff. It was Nicholas Briggs who actually offered feedback on the voice.
Name dropping.
He sent an email.
Yeah,
he sent an email,
And he
telling
says he's
me-
not a proper actor.
I'm not a proper
Well, I've
actor.
not worked with
Nicholas
him more than
Nicholas
I've only worked with
Briggs.
him once, and I haven't been invited back. So anyway,
Mm.
but doesn't hit on that. No, he sent me this thing, and he told me about other things that I've never heard of before. And actually, prior to that point, doing Troughton, I couldn't say a th properly. No one in my 24 years of my life had ever corrected me
I
that
don't do
I've
my
been saying
THs
th as an f.
No,
Yeah, I don't do that. No.
And I was like, how have I got this far?
Yeah, I
Someone
don't
must
do
have
that.
wanted, because I've just been hearing F and TH as exactly the same thing for all these years, and even arguing people saying "fuck you," you know, and sort of things like that. And stuff. Yeah, imagine
But,
if I went to drama
um,
school, it would all be ironed out. I'd be perfect. But,
So I
all
just
thespian.
I just
No.
need to mention my old choir master, Philip Buckmaster, who helped with the music. So and oh, what's her name? Damn it! I want to name drop her, but I think it's Jo Day who does the trumpet at the end. So
Oh,
she's
honestly.
our old.
That-
She's my
Hey,
because I
that
used to be
was
in the church
fantastic.
choir when I was a
Mm.
kid, and Philip is my son's godfather, and he's the organist at my church. So he done the music with Joe for the last post at the end, and yeah, like I was so happy when he said he'd do it.
I mean, the thing is, well, I was going to say, the when the shit hits the fan in it, and you have the choir coming in, that was just perfect because you sort of,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I was in my head, you sort of expecting sort of like kind of like disaster movie music, but it just at that moment
Set
you
the scene
realised
perfectly.
it was
Oh,
kind of
yeah,
like
yeah.
that was a moment. It was kind of like non-verbally, not everyone's coming out of this kind of thing. It just immediately
is-
set the tone of it, and it was
The whole entire
spot
chat
on.
was silent
Yeah,
whenever
the-
that
yeah.
choir came in,
Mm.
and everyone was like, "Oh."
That choir bit, like when it was coming in and everything, like you could picture it, like visually, you could picture it as literally you're stood in the center of all of this chaos going on.
And you're just
And
yeah.
you
Slow
just-
motion.
It's like you're
Everything's
stood
falling
in the
in slow
center,
motion.
It truly
everything's
felt like that
happening
while
around
listening.
you,
Yeah.
and you've just got this
Mm.
choir music in the background, and it's beautiful.
I think credits to the editing there as well. Brilliantly edited. I mean, it genuinely felt like I was in there. It was just brilliantly put together.
There was 27 different fire sounds.
Wow.
Bloody hell.
27.
But that's probably how many there actually were.
Mm.
So you know, it sets the scene perfectly.
It's
You're
crazy.
gonna have a big fire. You need lots of fire.
Lots, yes.
I swear, like I seen like the wee like there was
You saw the
wee people, we
tracks,
had a
didn't
couple-
you?
I seen the tracks and I was like, I swear it was literally like it looked like a barcode. There was that many like distinct little lines, like the sound effects between lines, and I was like, oh my goodness, it was literally like, you know, walking into somebody having like wee pins on the wall and everything, connecting the dots to everything, like a crime wall. It was literally like that, and I was like,
Here
Abby,
we go.
what
We've
is
got
going
Jimmy
on?
with his
And,
very own one.
Oh my
The one
god.
we
It was
prepared
literally
earlier.
that times 1,000. There were so many, and I was like, oh my god. But I'm telling you now, I couldn't have, like, definitely not me. I couldn't have done it any more perfect. It sounded so well, like
I always have
just
a
the
lot of respect
timing
for
was
audio
well.
editors.
Music came in well. Like, I mean, it was just perfect. Absolutely perfect. You should give yourself credit because it was amazing. It really was.
agree.
Coming from a fellow sound editor as well.
That's the one thing I've always hated in anything, even if I've used to put on things before. Editing, I absolutely
Oh.
despise it.
Oh,
Despise
yeah.
it.
think
I have a
every
lot of
critic
respect for
will
anyone who
agree.
edits, because
Editing.
somehow
Like
you've gone
fun
here
editing?
that I
Editing.
can never have. Like, I would just put footsteps and call it a day.
Editing
You
is the
know,
bane
yeah.
of
that-
editors.
that's about it.
I've
You know, it'll be like
It's
a modern
my-
radio play.
It's
That's
my
how it's
guilty
done.
pleasure.
Consuming.
Yeah.
It's my guilty
as well.
pleasure.
It can be brilliant sometimes. It can be really fun, but most of the time,
Oh.
it's
I
just
find
so-
it really therapeutic.
That's why
Mhm.
another reason I like this, like doing these recording series.
You
That
don't have
I've
to
never
edit.
seen
finish
anybody
once you
do
sign up
it.
as Zencaster. That's it.
I can do an edit. I can do an
That's your
edit in
job
like
done.
I can do an edit in like 3 days.
Right.
Yeah,
Mm,
I've never
yeah.
seen anybody do it as quickly as you. I
I-
swear. I was like,
Look, Jen,
That is very impressive. Like
It
it's
is
taken me
impressive.
taken me a while to get through one of the Remnants episodes I'm working on. It's just like, oh, I can't do so many sound effects.
But
What am I doing?
the funny thing is, Dom,
Yeah.
I'm an ex-Royal Navy chef BSL firefighter who has a degree in history. So about the only thing I use amongst that is the history.
The history. Oh my goodness.
I have nothing to do with sound. I use BSL. Doesn't make any sense. So anyway, that was Behind the Duvet for the R101. Thank you for joining me, everybody who is here. I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Bye.
Where's my mouse gone?
Bye.